The parameter connection editor will allow you to set keyframe relationships between multiple parameters, either on the same object or other objects if you choose. So here's an example. Here I have an afro that's going to be driving the position, the rotation in Y on these eyes. So as I move the afro in Y, you can see that the eyes are rotating in Y. So we made a simple connection, so let's go ahead and see how we can access this stuff. So let's go ahead and remove the animation that's currently on these rotations. So selecting the afro now will yield a no rotation. Whoops, I just deleted that. Alright, so let's start from scratch. We know that we want to move parameters on this eye, so in order to do that, let's go ahead and select the eye, and then we can access, well, first I'll let you know that we can access, we can do this with any animatable parameter, and we know the couple ways or a couple parameters that we have access to. If we go to keying panel / layout, we have access to all of the local transforms here. Additionally, we can hit Control K, which will also give us access to a bunch of animatable parameters. So since we have this open, let's find out which axis we want to rotate in. It's not Z, we can just see it's Y here, so I want the eyes to move left and right. So this could be the Y parameter. So let's go ahead, right click, and all we have to do is go to Parameter Connection Editor. This is one way to open it. You can alternatively go to View, Animation, Parameter Connection Editor. Doing it this way will load the object that you want in here. If this happens to be the wrong object, or if you want another one, just select the objects that you want, and then just go ahead and hit the refresh key on the driven target. The driven target is the parameter that will move automatically. The driving source is the one where the user has the control. So you can see that there's this lock here. This lock will keep the objects that are currently selected kind of locked in place, and you can see here on the driving source the lock isn't enabled. So as I click objects, you can see that it gets updated. So let's select our fro and lock that down so it doesn't get updated. So now we have to determine which parameter of this object we want to drive the parameters of this object. So I know I want the position, let's do position X and Y to affect the rotation of the eyes. So just select the fro and just go to position X. So we mark that, and then we want to mark the parameters on both the objects. It can be confusing sometimes, but just remember, if you have multiple objects, you need to select the parameters on both objects. So we want our rotation Y. So I'll hold that, or click that, and then go rot Y, and hold down Control and click that. So rot Y, rot Y. Right now there is no relationship between these. In order to make the relationship, just click the link button that creates the relationship, and now you can see that we have F-curve data here. We have animation curve. Right now it's set to 0 to 0, and I just want to make sure that everything is good, so we'll set our default position by going set relative value, and that's going to set our first keyframe, and now we have to set our second pose. Now when doing this, make sure you move your driving source first. A lot of time people will want to move the driven target first, but doing that will activate the first keyframe the second you start moving your driving source. So the second I come here and move this, you can see that the eyes reset. So that can be a little frustrating. So I want a position of 2.051 to result in a rotation something like that. So in a rotation of negative 44.15. So in order to save this data, we'll hit set relative values, and then clicking on here you can see the keyframe data that we get. So when the afro, let's select our key, when the afro is at 0, the rotation value for the eyes will be at 0, and if we were to select this, you can see when the afro is at negative negative 2.05, the eyes will go to this position. So as we start going back, you can see that we kind of get that that link. If we want to go to the opposite side, we can do the same thing. So let's go ahead and move the afro over here, and then we'll rotate the eyes that way, and then we'll set relative value. So now you can see as we move from left and right, we have a connection. And any other direction, since they're not linked yet, won't do anything. So there you are. That's the parameter connection editor. At any time, something to keep in mind, each curve here is different. So if I were to come in here, select this, and then manipulate my data, so instead of -2, I want it to happen faster, so let's bring this to -1. So when I move it to the left, the eye will move a lot faster than moving it to the right. Or we can even do 0.5. But you can see how the left eye is moving really quick and the right eye isn't. Again, that's because each curve is different. So if I want to transfer that over, I can just right click here, copy animation, then go down to this curve, paste animation. And then you can see that now both eyes are in sync again. So there you go.